this video we are looking at creating solids of revolution in Geogebra. So to start with, we need to go to Geogebra in our browser. So here's the URL that you'd be interested in, geogebra.org/3D. And that takes us here. And now the red is the x-axis, green is the y-axis, and blue is the z-axis. We're not so familiar with z-axis, and I'd rather we didn't see it. So we'll go to the settings in the top right, settings, z-axis, turn it off. Okay, let's put a function in. So y equals 4 over x will be the one that we start with. Now, we can move this around. We've got a 3D view of it. Right. Now, that's a very thick line, and I want to change that. So we go to the settings of this, style, make it thinner, and make it dashed. Because we're going to concentrate on just part of it. And we do that now. So type function, or start to type function, and then this menu allows us to complete it. So I'm going to talk this through slowly. So we want to give the function f. You can see the function we just typed in is called f. So the function f, and we want to give it a start and end x value, which I'm going to make 1 and 4. So if I click on this, then I put f, 1, 4, hit enter, and you can see that that part of it is now emphasized. That's its own independent object. I can turn that off if I want, turn that on and off. Okay, so we're going to take this part now and we're going to rotate it about the x-axis, and might have trouble imagining what that would look like, so we're going to get to see what it looks like. So if I type rotate, and it's the third one we're after. Let me explain why. Our object is the bold bit of function, which has the name g. The angle, well, we want it to be every angle. I'm just going to put alpha and we'll see what happens. And then the axis of rotation is the x-axis. So I'll click here. Right, the object is g. The angle is, if I use the keyboard, and then that, and then that, and then I can put an alpha in. Hit close, and comma, and the axis is the x-axis, so pay attention to the capitalization there. All right, now looking at the screen you might think, well, what have we got there? But if you grab the mouse and turn this around, you can see what's happened, right? There's a it says alpha is 45 degrees, and if we move it, then we can get up to 360 degrees rotation, right, about the x-axis. Okay, now I'm going to animate it, but before I do that, I'm going to make a subtle change, so pay close attention. In the settings for alpha, go to slider, and change halfway down. The repeat is oscillating, which means goes forwards and then backwards. I just think it makes a nicer display if we go strictly increasing. So there we go. And so now, if I press play, then we get a smooth animation. That dotted line bit is because it's underneath the number plane, so it's just helping us to visualize properly. And you can move this around. Oh, that's zooming, not moving. You can move this around to get different perspectives. But it's going to look better when we turn a trace on. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to wait till it comes around and pause it where I can see it properly. And we want to turn this trace on, so I need to go to the settings for G1 for the rotate, this rotate bit. And I'll go settings. Okay, now there's a bug in Geogebra. Let me just demonstrate. I clearly clicked on this one and did settings, but you can see that we're doing the settings for alpha here. That's annoying. But if you just click on this, then it changes to the settings for that. Okay, so one way or another, we've got to do the settings for G1. And all we're doing is show trace. All right, so I'll close that. Now it's changed color. So this thing is truly annoying at times. I'm just going to make it whatever color you like. I'm going to go with purple. And now when you press play, we're getting a right, a traced out thing, and it's looking more like a solid, the outline of a solid anyway. All right, so not like you'd see through, it's not really completely solid, of course, and if this was like a bowl and you filled it with water, then it would fall right out the bottom. But if you put a base here, then you could fill it with water and be entitled to ask how much water could you fit in here. So what's the volume of this solid of revolution? Okay, so that's what we'd like to find out. Okay, I'm going to pause. Now, how do we get rid of... Oh, well, what I want to do now is just show you how we can change the function so that we can get a different display. To clear the trace, the easiest way is just to zoom in and zoom out a bit. So any zooming that you do gets rid of the trace. And now, if I go back to where it all started, this y equals 4 over x, I can change it. I'm going to change it to y equals square root of x. Square root bracket. I just hit open bracket and it did that. X, hit enter. Okay. Just clearing the trace. I'm going to change the endpoints while we're at it. So I'm going to change the 1 to a 0.5 and I'll change the 4 to a 5. So I hit enter, make sure it takes effect. We get a bit of a longer section here now. Is the trace on? I think the trace is on. So here we go. Press play. Right, so because everything's now set up, if I change the function and make sure the trace is cleared, then I can animate it now and get a new solid. So like a fancy lampshade that we've got going on here. And yeah. All right, so don't worry about what all this stuff, but it's just the function, the partial function with the endpoints, the rotation, and when we put in alpha and this slider was created. Okay, remember I changed the oscillation so that it would go strictly forward and not sort of bounce forwards and backwards, which I think is a bit confusing for what we're doing here. So there you go. That's the end of the video.